Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I am so happy to be back on the Syberia Designs YouTube channel today with this fun tropical card. It is almost summer and these tropical paradise birds are perfect for some summer card. So like I said, this stamp set is called the Paradise Birds. There is a coordinating die set, of course. And the great thing about Syberia Designs coordinating die sets is that all of the dies have been cut apart for you already and they are ready to work with. I highly appreciate that, especially for a stamp set that has so many different stamps. Now, you saw the card beforehand, before I started. I am going to need quite a lot of birds, and so I cut a couple of pieces of cardstock roughly the same size, and I am putting those in my Misti and stamping all of the birds first. So I stamped 4 panels of these birds, I think, and I'm using some Memento Tuxedo black ink. Any ink that you have that is alcohol marker friendly will work here, or if you want to watercolor, stamp with watercolor ink onto watercolor cardstock and that will work perfect as well. I am going to use some alcohol markers today. Once these are all stamped out, I am going to color them all at once. I am only going to show you one panel where I did all of the birds, but for all of the other ones, I just did the blue bird on all of the panels at once and then the toucan on all of the panels at once, just so I could put away those markers so they weren't messing up my desk. Now, I didn't just do this first panel because I wanted to show it to you in the video. When I would make a lot of these birds all colored in the same way, I would test out my coloring first on each one. So this is my normal process. I would color all of the birds once first, and then color each of them all at once, if that makes sense. I love the bright colors for these birds. The packaging, the back of the packaging of the stamps and die sets always have some amazing coloring inspiration for these birds. They look so fun, and I definitely was inspired by the bright colors there. I did go off a little bit on my own, but in general I stuck a little bit to the coloring scheme on the back of the packaging. For the toucan, I did add quite a bit of fun colors to its beak. I think I like coloring toucans. I have quite a few toucan sets, so by now I know what I want the beak to look like. But if you're ever in doubt on how to color something, just Google images and pick out the most fun color combination you can find. So once all of these are colored, I am going to put these back in my Misti where I have left my stamps in the same place, and I'm going to stamp all of the panels again with Versafine Onyx black ink. I like to do this because I love a crisp black outline. You can absolutely skip this step, but I think Versafine Onyx black is a lot more black than most alcohol marker friendly inks that I have found, at least. And the great thing about it is that you can also add embossing to it, and I do love a glossy embossed outline. You know this by now. So as you can see, it's very easy to stamp all of these again. It takes maybe an extra 2 minutes, and I think it's definitely worth it. So I'm just going to sprinkle the embossing powder on all of the panels at once. When I'm embossing, I do everything at once, so I only have to let my heat gun heat up once. I do leave it heat up on the side before I bring it to my panels for a little bit. I don't ever show that in videos because it is just sitting there while I'm doing some cleanup, to be honest. Do keep it out of range from anything flammable if you do that. I leave it on my radiator, so it's not gonna burst into flames. But I heat up all of the embossing powder, and once everything is heat set, I can also die cut everything. Once everything is die cut, I can start assembling my card, which is the fun part, which is the most fun part. Although I did have a lot of fun coloring this one as well. I am going to add a bright pink cardstock to my card base. I love this cardstock. I think it's from the stamp market. I think that's the one I used. That would be raspberry. It is so stunning. It's even brighter in real life somehow. And I'm just going to arrange all of the birds on there. This takes quite a while, but again, it's very relaxing. Listen to an audiobook while you're at it. I have been listening to Babel. If you know that, it's a fantasy book, but it's so good. I love it. I am almost done with it, and I am going to be sad to see it end, to be honest. Once every bird is on there, I do have some open spots here and there on a corner or on a side somewhere that I'm going to fill up with all of the pieces that I'm going to end up cutting off. So I am going to use a piece of press and seal to pick up all of the birds at once. This is going to help me adhere them all to my panel. But as you can see, there are quite a bit of parts of the birds overhanging on my card. Those are going to end up being cut off, and I'll assemble those later on my card to fill in those gaps. I'm going to adhere everything with small pieces of foam tape. I like to put my foam tape on a piece of baking paper or parchment paper. So there's basically release paper on both sides, and that allows me to cut it into small pieces like you see here, and that prevents me from buying glue or foam squares, so it's a little bit more cost efficient for me, and I can cut them into any size I need, so it's perfect. It does take a little bit longer to adhere everything with foam tape, but I think the dimension on cards like these makes such a difference, so I think it's worth it. Obviously, you could just use liquid glue to glue everything down. It would definitely speed up the process a little bit. I'm going to take some big shears from Tim Holtz, and those are definitely helpful to cut off those things off the side. I feel like with small scissors, I often end up cutting a little bit crookedly when it's something like this, so I cut a little bit too much off sometimes, and we don't like that. So once everything is cut off and all of the gaps are filled in, I am going to use foam tape on these really small pieces as well. I'm not even sure I show it in the video, but I use tiny slivers of foam tape to prop those up too. So it's a little bit fiddly at this point, but again, that is the card. There is just this background of birds, and on top of it, I'm adhering some sentiment strips. I pre-make a bunch of sentiment strips, especially with the Syberia designs, stamps, and die sets. All of the sentiments usually have coordinating dies, so it's really easy to mass produce these. So I did that at some point. These are from various different stamp sets, all from Syberia designs, and I white heat embossed these onto black cardstock. But other than the birds and the sentiments, there's not much to this card. So even though it's a little bit fiddly to make because there's so many pieces, this didn't take me long. I finished this card in 50 minutes. It's not a super quick card to make. I wouldn't mass produce cards like this, but it's definitely not the longest I spent making a card. And I just love all of the bright colors with the alcohol markers and the paper. It's just so tropical and fun. I hope you liked the card. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the Syberia Designs YouTube channel to see more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.